I don't know how well this shows on the video, but today, Friday, what is it, the 19th, I think, of July? There you go, look, 40 degrees centigrade, which is, I think, the very high 90s in Fahrenheit. So it's rather warm today. So I put that back. This is in the kitchen. I'm just going to move to higher ground and share some fantastic news. So here we are, where I do most of the uploading of videos, clear view of the masts in the distance there. Monchique is slightly over to the right. Now it's interesting, Fridays I normally go to the nearest store in Monchique to get supplies, cat food and such like. Oh, it's so warm it does take your breath away when it's like this. Anyway, so today I had the good fortune of being able to use a moped rather than having to push a push bike because it's all uphill. But as I was climbing up it's all uphill from here. It's a 90-minute walk to Monchique, just to give you an idea. So as I got to higher ground, I noticed my ears popped in the same way you get when you come down to land in an airliner. And something made me sort of make a note of that. And I thought, well, okay, the reason's not apparent, but the fact I've noticed it, I feel will be significant. Well, since I've got back, and this is the good news, Livette now has internet back on, so she'll be able to upload some more videos and share her wisdom on symbolism, alchemy, and in relation to the Bible. Very well worth listening to if you haven't heard her channel. This is the magic of the way things work. So I've made this mental note of the ear popping, and it just so happens that Livette mentioned about this, and she's had emails from people who are getting ear blockages and things. So I don't know where you are in the world, but if you are in the right sort of landscape, something like this, where you can go to ground where the altitude is different, that seems to clear the blockage in the ears. So I'd like to put that out as a suggestion. And I feel that's fantastic about the timing of things. It's like, I've experienced this today. Something has said, make a note of this. And then the answer has unfolded subsequently. This is the thing with what happens in the unseen and the seen. It's another blueprint that I can offer to you. The one I've used several times is based on what Rudolf Steiner said. So if you are in a vehicle, it's so easy if you're caught up in traffic to look at the negative polarity of, oh, I'm going to be late, and get stressed about not getting to somewhere by a certain time. But it's what happens in the unseen, the potential, as it were. And we can't always know what is in the unseen potential. So if you're delayed in traffic, that could be the very thing that stops you. If you had an unimpeded journey, you may find yourself involved in a multi-vehicle pile-up on a main road or something, but the fact that you've been delayed has prevented you from being in that situation. I'm not saying that would be the outcome, and more than likely that's not going to be the outcome, but law of averages and everything, and things can happen. And of course driving is very much a perfect analogy to walking the spiritual path. It's being aware of the ever-changing circumstances around you and just being the observer of it, but not actually taking part and picking a side. This is something that Jason of Archaics has spoken about recently in light of what happened on July the 13th. And like he says, it doesn't matter if it's true or if it's not true. What matters is you have a system that wants you to pick a side. It's encouraging you to take a script. But you can overwrite those scripts. My going to the supermarket is something I have turned into a pleasure. Nothing has changed about what happens. It requires going to a store, purchasing groceries and coming back. Now I can look at it with a perspective of, oh, I've got to go shopping, a very negative thing, but it's also, well, if you don't go, you're not going to have food. So one, you have to take responsibility and do it anyway. But it's become something of a little social gathering up there, meeting other people from the valley, and it's got to the stage, it's like, oh, I recognise this person or that person from next week, and very nice people. It's a completely different set of people where they're on a similar wavelength. So we can have some really interesting conversations about manifestation and how imagination creates reality, how taking active steps, because it is an interactive realm. And I was discussing today that phrase, I want a Ferrari. So that would be coming from the position of you haven't got it. So if you really want a Ferrari, then you have to use your imagination, coupled with taking active steps. In that particular case, maybe going around car dealerships and just looking at new cars, and then just holding to the feeling that you have got that which you desire. It can be something for yourself, but it works better if it's something benevolent on behalf of another. So continuously I'm rewriting scripts on things I hear. So another example today, I was listening to a lady saying about her husband. He's recovering, I think, from a leg operation. But I'm not hearing this. As this lady is saying this, I am turning it round and hearing something very different in my mind. I'm hearing that the husband is in good health. So I'm visioning next time I go to the store, it will be good news. It's exactly the same way with when Lavette put out an appeal that she had no internet and thinking it's power outages, which if it happens a lot, it would seem likely, yes. So I visioned hearing that she's got internet back on, and visioning I'm going to see another video from Lavette. So I offer these as testimonies as to how we are co-creators. And whilst you have a collective reality, you have your own reality bubble within a bigger bubble. So you have the collective reality and you have your individual reality. I mean, most of the time my world is bounded by these hills. I don't really go out of it because I don't need to. And I live pretty much a hermit life. My only real outside contact with the outside world is through YouTube, through emails and things like that. And of course the trips on Friday where I have more of an interactive relationship with others in the physical sense, and have some really interesting conversations. And that's a game changer, because it's not, oh, I've got to go shopping. I'm looking forward to going shopping, and I'm looking forward to meeting up with people and slowly becoming friends with. And it gets a stage you sort of next time you see them, you recognise them, and it's, hi, how are you doing? And it's wonderful. It's what I've said about this reality. If you change inside yourself, the external may not look any different. It will look completely the same as it did before. But what does change is your interaction, the subset of people you come across. And life is far more on an even keel. It's not a roller coaster ride of extreme highs and lows. It's a bit like depression. That can be like that as well, where you can go into this extreme low and you can come out of it. And think of it as like the extreme waves, the the crest and the trough, but it's aiming for a more even sort of, more, I can't get my hand to go, but an even sort of flow. So it's more like a calm sea, more like a mill pond, and you just drift through without being rocked by emotions, basically. What we import from this outside world. If you think of the world as a stage, so if there's a conversation going on next to you, it's like a script being presented to you. Now, you can take that script and you can then actively take part in a conversation, or you can choose not to. It's entirely at your discretion. You are in control of your reality. This seems to be the very thing, if you have this perception that everything seems system-wise to be working against you and not in your best interests. The fact that there is a perception of that in place, it requires then turning the question around as to, well, what is it about us that there is a requirement for such a system to be in place? There must be something inside us. This is something I've said before in video. And it is our ability to co-create, to create a reality within a collective reality. Many channels talk about this. I can readily cite Archaic's channel, I can cite Neville Goddard, I can cite Rudolf Steiner, and many more. Alan Watts would be another one. It's the same message all the way through, said in a language that suits the present moment. Because what Neville Goddard said is no different from what Archaic's channel says about the immortal soul. You are gods in the making. But it's unlocking it inside yourself. So it's being an observer, becoming aware of self, becoming aware of when things are presented to you. In some ways it seems like stumbling blind. It's like, well, where's the path? But just let things unfold. This actually reminds me of something else I wanted to talk about. I think I might have mentioned this on video before. But people will say to me, I'm looking for my path. What is my purpose? Yes, I actually have said about this in video, but it's worth mentioning again. If we take the scenario like a conflict, like you're in the trenches in 1915, for example, in Western Europe, the events can bring out something in a person that would have remained undiscovered unless there would have been this situation that has brought forth this inner strength in certain individuals. And that is what it really is. It's not that you can't find your path, you are already on your path. But things haven't necessarily unfolded yet. But what is happening in this world, if we use the Neville Goddard analogy, imagination creates reality. You deny what the five senses are telling you in the external, and you overwrite them internally, and you feel as if whatever it is that it already has happened. And you walk around in that assumption. You're taking active steps with the feeling inside yourself, convincing yourself as real as you can possibly make it that it already is. And then the rest will just fall into place. We are magnetic beings that put out a magnetic energy that radiates out from us. And depending on the frequency and what you're radiating out, it works just like a magnet. It will draw something on the same frequency towards you. As I said before, the system is actually a very good teacher. The only thing it doesn't teach you is the positive polarity of manifestation. It teaches us to focus on the very negative, the very thing we don't want. So, for example, you're worrying about a job you've applied for, and the focus on that worry will give it's a negative frequency, so you probably won't get the job. But even if you get that message that, I'm sorry, on this occasion you've been unsuccessful, if you really want that job, you can deny hearing that and recreate the scene in your mind where you are being offered the job. Because you never know, it may be that whoever has been accepted for that position has turned it down and now it's open to somebody else. You may have been the next preferred choice for that job, and if you hold to that feeling, the chances are you are going to get it. But if you don't get that particular job, it may be that there's something better around the corner, but it's still in the unseen. So you hold true to your inner self. Let me just paint a slightly darker picture. Think of the year 2040. It's just under 16 years away. To me, this is all leading to the same pattern as when you learn to walk. You take your first steps, you stumble, but with determination you keep going. And I see that all this is just this 15-year period we're now going through is so we can master the overcoming of reacting to what seems to be negative by weighing things up and then responding accordingly and holding true to that which you create inside yourself and taking the active steps as if you already have it, regardless of what the external reality is presenting to you. So I know there's a lot I've got fears about 2040 and this Phoenix event. But remember, you're going to be an observer. You don't have to take part in it. And you can deny what that external is showing, because you've got 15 years to put this into practice, and it is about practice, practice, practice. The system even shows this with things like reciting a national anthem or multiplication tables. It is by repetition till you master that skill till it becomes second nature. That's the blueprint for everything in this reality. But if you need any reassurance, as I've offered before, and I offer myself as testimony that I have come through depression, I have come through anxiety, I have come through panic attacks. There was no sort of real YouTube at the time, or I wasn't really aware of YouTube, and I wouldn't have even thought about looking for any help or advice, and I certainly didn't know anything about Neville Goddard at that stage. But it unfolded, and I found that you can come out the other side of it, and it actually, that saying about a weakness becomes strength, as I've mentioned about this with panic attacks and things on previous videos, you master those feelings, but as and when needed, you can work those to your advantage. I mean, think about with the system, everything is endless paperwork. It can work to a huge advantage if you're faced with an authority figure where they're faced with, to follow through with something, it's going to cause them a lot of paperwork. So the chances are things can then turn round in your favour. And I even had a testimony of this today from a lady that I met up with at Monchique, and she said she didn't say what she did, but she basically put this into practice and she walked away free. No trouble at all. She wasn't hostile, she was courteous, and it turned things round. This is the ability that we have inside us, but it is down to you to find it inside yourself. But if you are struggling, if you need reassurance, come and talk to me. The details are in the description to each video. Contact me by email. We could do voicemail backwards and forwards, or a phone conversation on Messenger or WhatsApp or Telegram, and go from there. And I can listen to what you have to say and then say, well, have you considered your situation from this perspective? And then if you put it into practice, I'm sure you'll find the magic will unfold and things weren't as bad as they seemed. How many times do we create these imagination scenarios of, what if this happens, what if that happens, what if this doesn't happen at this particular time? This is the conscious mind thinking, you see. It's about just visioning and not thinking any more about it, because it's placing doubt and fear, which is going to stop coming the very thing you want. So I thought I'd share partly testimony from myself and from people I've encountered and have the pleasure of meeting, and also the good news about Libet now has internet again, and I offer that as a testimony of overwrite what you're hearing if you don't like what you're hearing, and hear it with a different script which is far more benevolent, and just watch the magic unfold. I feel that you'll be amazed at this undiscovered skills that you have. It's a part of your life path to find this. You are, after all, a co-creator. You're looking effectively for the Phoenix event inside yourself. The 7 seals are your 7 chakras. It's the internal version. The internal will always come before the external. So there'll be an internal Phoenix event, but you'll set the pace of it. It's not with this linear time sense. You haven't got to wait till 20 to 40 to do it. All I can offer to you is testimonies as I go through this of what I found that I thought was not possible turns out to be possible. I've been in the Algarve in Portugal for, a year and 3 months now, and it's all really coming together. And to me, that is, I can offer myself as living proof of this can be done. So I invite you to reiterate what Neville Goddard says: test it for yourself. Hold to the vision, to the feeling that you wish, regardless of what the external is presenting to you, and overwrite it and create the reality bubble around yourself. This talk of things like nations, continents, worlds, universe, well, that's all you. It's all inside you. The universe is you inverse. Everything is a reflection. All you have to do, like a reflection, you're looking in the mirror and the polarity on the linear is different. If you go left, the reflection goes right. But you just flip the polarity on what you're seeing, so everything is going in the same direction. That is your co-creating ability for you to discover. So the door is open if you need any help, if you want any more advice, and I can give you personal talk from personal experience of things and how I've got this as far as I have today. And I offer that as proof that imagination creates reality as long as you combine it with taking active steps and, of course, not giving in to doubt and fear. So I hope that has inspired you, and I hope that that has given you a new incentive, because it's sent inward. That's where to weigh everything up. The language that you're looking for is always in feeling. It's not in eyesight, it's not in hearing, it's in internal hearing, internal sight, and most of all, it is in how you feel. That in itself will create chemical changes in your body as well. It has a physical outplay to all of these things. But what polarity you're on, that is entirely down to you. So I hope this has inspired you and helped you in some way to get through what can seem like difficult times. But again, it's perception. How much of that external do you wish to buy into? How much do you wish to import inside yourself, which will manifest as a feeling inside yourself? All things to weigh up, just like if you're driving down the road, you're weighing up, expecting the unexpected. That's the way to do it. So as always, unconditional love to you all.